Hi friends, I'm Chelsea Grayson coming to you once again from the Office of the CEO. This is my show where I can help you be more successful in your current career, and I can also help you successfully transition to a new career. And today we're finally going to get to that topic. How do you successfully transition to a new career? I think this topic deserves a lot of consideration and a lot of discussion, so I'm going to break it up into several episodes. So today's episode will be an introductory episode. I want to give you sort of a general broad brush overview perspective of the big concepts that you want to think about. And then over the next coming weeks, in the next coming episodes, we'll really dive into the nitty-gritty details of how do you really implement those concepts and initiatives. So let's kick off today's intro episode. So by way of background, I think a lot of you guys know that I've made two significant transitions in my own career path. So for the first, call it 20 years or so of my career, I was a lawyer. I practiced mergers and acquisitions. And then I transitioned to become the CEO of a couple of big companies. I was the CEO of American Apparel and then True Religion. And then finally, I transitioned to becoming a board member or a director of public company boards of directors. So I transitioned from the law to the business side of things or the executive side of things. And then I transitioned again to becoming a board member or public company director. So the things that I thought about when I was making those transitions, and these are some of the techniques and considerations that we're going to do a deeper dive into in the next coming episodes, are the following. So one, I thought about the areas of expertise, the skills that I had honed and perfected in my current career, and I thought about which one of those would translate to the next career that I wanted to transition to. So for example, as a lawyer, I had really developed my expertise in being a good and effective leader. I had developed the skill to innovate, to think outside the box and come up with creative solutions. And I had really perfected my skills of analysis, right? The ability to size up a situation, sort of look at it from all angles, look at it from a micro detail perspective, but also from a macro perspective, the bird's eye view, and really figure out how to fix that issue and make sure that when you fix that issue, it really fits into the big picture of things so it doesn't screw anything else up around you that you want to keep the same. So, and we'll get into this topic a little bit more in terms of other career transitions and what sorts of skills might translate into future careers. But for me, those were the sorts of skills that would transition, for example, from being a lawyer to running a company as the CEO. So I thought about those sorts of skills and thought about how to play those up when I was having conversations with folks that might be able to get me into the new career. So another thing that you guys should think about doing as you're considering switching careers is hop on the internet or have conversations with folks that already are in that career that you aim for, and figure out the terms of art. Figure out the various verbiage that people use in that industry, in that career, in that particular set of jobs. This is really easy. All you really have to do is get on the internet and do just a modicum of research. Read just a handful of articles, maybe watch a couple of webinars to understand the terms of art and the verbiage that are commonly used in that industry. Because when you start talking with people, even before you get into interview situations, when you're just networking with folks that are in that industry or in that career area that you want to jump into, it will help them to think of you as somebody who's already sort of halfway there if you're using terms of art and verbiage that they're familiar with, that they use in their everyday. Honestly, it's a cheat code because it'll make you seem a lot more experienced in that area than you are. So start using these terms of art, even if you don't fully understand what they mean or how they're used. Just start using these terms of art with folks that you're having conversations with, and you're going to seem like one of the club already, like you're already a member of the club, and that'll make them feel like you're a very familiar commodity, and they will be more willing to get you into other rooms and other meetings, which could help advance your desire to get into that new career or that new industry. So learn the terms of art and the verbiage. Again, this can be done very easily just on a little bit of a deep dive on the internet, frankly. Okay, so number 2, there are all sorts of trade associations, all sorts of other organizations that you can find that are focused on whatever industry it is or whatever area it is that you're looking to transition to. So you should sign up for regular newsletters from these various trade organizations and other associations, membership associations, what have you, that focus on those industries or that area. So now you're going to be getting regular newsletters. Even if you don't necessarily read everything back to back every time you get it, you'll see the headlines. So you'll slowly start to become familiar with the various current events that are happening in that industry. You'll start to become familiar with legislation that's going through or cases that are coming through where there's going to be important decisions. You'll start to become really familiar with the names and faces that populate that industry, because they'll frequently be talking about various moves that those people are making between organizations. So now you're going to start to understand the characters that make up the cast that populate that industry. This is another good way for you to learn the terms of art and verbiage that are used in the industry. And it'll just be a really helpful way for you to start to familiarize yourself. So when you start having conversations with people, it's like you're in it already. You've got all of these issues and topics front of mind. And plus it'll give you ideas of what to talk about even, right? Because you've got all these news items that you're reading about every single day, and you can raise all of those news items in conversation to get into really organic discussions with people, even when you're just networking, but also when you're interviewing for positions in that industry, right? So that is, or in that particular sort of career. So that is going to, again, make you seem like a very familiar commodity, make you seem like you're already in this industry, and it's not that you're making a transition. So they aren't taking a huge risk by hiring you into this new career. So you should also become a member of those trade organizations or associations. And for sure, you want to pick the right ones. You don't want to spend a lot of money becoming a member of each and every one of them. But by becoming a member of these organizations, you'll then be looped into the various, now it's webinars, although it used to be live events, right? Events that they are hosting, including cocktail networking sessions. Again, those are probably going to be virtual for a while, but either way, you can now start to show up at these events, and your face will start to be familiar to people. Most of these events have an educational component as well, so you'll get that. And so again, this is another way for you to start to look like a familiar commodity, another way for you to start to get to be known around that industry or in that subset of folks that are engaged in that particular profession, and another way for you to get educated. And so the last tip I want to leave you with for today, and again, we'll get into a lot more detail about how you do all of these things, is when you go to these various events or when you're chatting with folks, start thinking really strategically about who would be a great mentor for you. Now, I don't mean you're coming up to that person and saying, hey, we've had a couple good conversations, would you mind being my mentor, right? It doesn't have to be that formal. You know, it's just sort of who out of the folks that you're meeting and talking with seems like they're at a place where they could help you, seems like they have an inclination to help you, right? Because you're hitting it off and you've got a great rapport. Seems like a person who could open some doors for you and maybe teach you a thing or two. And really focus, just short of stalking that person, of course, but really focus on developing that relationship. So this isn't going to be all 100 people you met at the virtual mixer last week, right? This is going to be 1 or 2 specifically targeted people that you've maybe had multiple interactions with, that you really see that sort of potential value with. Start to drill down with them a little bit better. Email them off to the side, set up a couple of individual Zoom sessions with them. Whatever it is, you should be very proactive about developing that relationship further. Again, it's not that you need to ask them to formally be your mentor, because that can put people off sometimes. And a lot of times people don't really want to spend that sort of energy on something that they're not getting paid for. But you can think of them as your mentor. And slowly but surely it will start to evolve to that point, because people that are already ensconced in that industry, that career, that type of profession, whatever it is, they will know about job openings before those ever get posted publicly. They will know about decision makers at the various organizations that might want to talk to you even if they don't have a vacancy in a particular job. They will know about all sorts of networking events that you might not otherwise find out about. They will just be able to be in the know, open doors for you, and let you really become more productive in your search to transition to that new career. So I want to leave it with you there just for today. Next week's episode is going to do a much deeper dive into a couple of these areas. And I would also love to hear after today's session from any of you who want to separately message me over DM and let me know which of these areas you'd really want to see discussed more. If you have any specific questions about career transition, I'm very happy to answer those questions in future episodes. I do like dealing with anecdotes and examples a lot more than just sort of talking about general principles. So that'll really help focus these conversations. And also in future episodes, I'm going to get a little bit more in detail about my own career transitions because I want you guys to understand how it worked, the things that hiccuped, the things that went really smoothly, and some of the lessons that I took away from my own career transitions. So that's it for this week. Again, drop me some comments. Be sure and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes, particularly on this topic. And I will see you for the next episode of From the Office of the CEO.